Russia has called for an urgent UN Security Council meeting after the downing of a transport plane near the border with Ukraine. Moscow claims it was shot down by Kyiv's forces and that it was carrying 65 Ukrainian prisoners of war, although it has offered no evidence. 9 Russians on board were also reportedly killed. Russia's foreign minister said the full facts were still being verified.
Украинских военнопленных везли в Белгородскую область для того, чтобы осуществить очередной обмен, согласованный между Москвой и Киевом. Вместо того, чтобы этот обмен состоялся, украинская сторона из района Харьковской области нанесла зенитными ракетами удар по этому самолету, который стал фатальным.
Ukrainian officials did not immediately confirm or deny Russia's claims about the attack and said it was looking into it. Since Russia's invasion almost 2 years ago, Moscow and Kyiv have traded conflicting accusations, and establishing the facts has often been difficult.
Farmers' protests that have spread across the continent have reached Brussels, although with less force than in France or Germany. But the participation of several far-right MEPs has raised concerns about the possible capitalization of the farmers' anger. Around 100 farmers from several EU countries gather in front of the European Parliament to protest against the EU's green policies and free trade agreements.
On veut dire qu'en France, comme dans les autres pays européens, ce n'est pas des gens en col blanc qui vont décider, qui n'ont aucune notion de ce qu'est la dureté et la difficulté de produire des bons produits en France. Et stop aussi, comme nous le mettons sur nos pancartes, stop aux importations et avec des importations qui n'ont aucune norme.
Opposition to the Green Deal and the EU's free trade agreements among farmers' organizations has increased in recent months. They fear its impact on an already economically damaged sector. Far-right parties present at the protest said they back the farmers.
En nuestro caso es convicción política. Nosotros votamos en contra de la política agrícola común que produjo una reducción de las cantidades de las ayudas que merecen nuestros agricultores. Creo que el Partido Popular Europeo sí que lo está haciendo por puro interés partidista, porque están viendo que hay una movilización social en grandes lugares de Europa y están intentando reaccionar.
Copa Cogeca, Europe's leading farmers' organization, did not take part in the protest, claiming that the organizers of the demonstrations do not belong to it.
Je sais pas quand auront lieu les prochaines élections européennes.
L'année prochaine? Non? Dans quelques mois, peut-être.
C'est cet été, non? Je sais pas.
In June, it will be time for citizens of the European Union member states to cast their vote and elect representatives to the European Parliament. In the last elections in 2019, there was a remarkable 50% surge in youth participation compared to the 2014 polls.
However, in France, people aged 18 to 39 seem to have held back, with voter turnout ranging from 32 to 37%, significantly lower than participation recorded in other European countries like Denmark, Germany and Belgium, where 60 to 90% of younger voters cast a ballot.
But where do things stand today? Are young French voters feeling engaged?
Vous pensez aller voter? Non, je pense pas.
Moi aussi.
Pourquoi? Non. Parce que je savais même pas quand est-ce que c'était. Et puis je me suis pas trop intéressée aux candidats et aux partis.
Là, je viens d'avoir 18 ans et je connais pas grand-chose sur ce fonctionnement-là. Donc c'est sûr qu'il faudrait faire plus.
Moi j'ai 19 ans, je vais bientôt avoir 20 ans cette année et j'ai jamais entendu vraiment parler de ce que c'était réellement. On sait juste qu'il y a les élections mais on sait rien du tout derrière.
The organization Young European Movement is trying to fix this apparent lack of interest. Here, around 100 high school students and young people have been taking part in a simulation of the European Parliament.
Vous êtes levé tôt pour parler d'Europe? Je pense pas vraiment que les jeunes Français soient les mieux informés sur les questions européennes et sur le fonctionnement du Parlement. Je crois que le dernier Eurobaromètre disait qu'il y avait que 14% des Français en général qui connaissaient la date des élections européennes. Donc c'est un vrai enjeu pour nous de pouvoir les mobiliser et de pouvoir faire de la sensibilisation et de l'information sur ces questions-là.
Ce qu'on a demandé de faire aux élèves, c'est d'étudier un texte, une résolution du Parlement européen sur la Convention sur l'avenir de l'Europe. Ils sont dans un groupe politique, donc leur objectif, c'est de regarder dans le texte qu'est-ce qu'ils peuvent amender.
Nous avons la possibilité de voir les négociations entre différents partis. À travers cette simulation, nous pouvons nous mettre à la place et dans le rôle et dans la peau de ces députés, ce qui nous apprend davantage qu'un cours magistral dans un amphithéâtre.
Polish President Andrzej Duda has once again pardoned 2 former politicians who were sentenced to 2 years in jail. Former Interior Secretary Mariusz Kaminski and his deputy Maciej Łasek had been convicted of abuse of power. They were arrested 2 weeks ago after a standoff between the new centrist government and the previous conservative administration. Duda already pardoned the 2 in 2015. He said this time he had done so because of concern over the pair's health. Serbia is in urgent need of foreign workers, since more than 30,000 locals leave the country every year due to precarious working conditions. Some sectors in need of migrants the most include construction and public transport, among others. But some say there is still hope if the country gets its act together.
No, I'm not planning to stay here. I wanted to go to maybe Canada, but I believe that by the time I finish here, I'll be having some change of mind.
If I get the opportunity to stay, if maybe I get a job after school, that it's okay for me, sure, why not?
Serbia has not yet created the appropriate integration structures to receive migrants, and the first barrier is the language.
Neki angažuju prevodioca, neki na engleskom, sad sve zavisi opet i od prirode posla i toga koliko ljudi i koliko dugo ostaju. Poslodavac napravi u sistematizaciji to radno mesto i jednostavno mu bude prevodilac ceo dan. Na gradilištima se to uglavnom dešava.
Serbia's neighboring country Croatia has a different approach, prioritizing communication before labor.
Nama je ta odluka u gradu Zagrebu bila iznimno važna iz razloga što mislimo da je to prvi korak prema integraciji stranih radnika kojih je sve više u gradu Zagrebu. Imamo podatak da ih je trenutno 23.000 i mi ne možemo čekati u stvari neku nacionalnu razinu da poduzme neke integracijske mjere.
Serbia is a key stopover in the Balkans for migrants en route to Europe, yet many seem to settle here.
Onlookers clapped and cheered as Greenpeace activists demanding a ceasefire in Gaza unfurled a giant picture of a Palestinian child crying for help above the entrance to Madrid's Reina Sofia Museum. The building is home to Pablo Picasso's painting Guernica that depicts the horrors of war. The banner was illustrated by US street artist Shepard Fairey, also known as Obi, and based on an image taken by Gazan photographer Belal Khaled. It reads, "Can you hear us?" and has an unmute sign in the centre of the child's face.
A number of solar panel companies and tender beneficiaries who started installing solar panels in Hungary with EU support have run into trouble. The project, advertised as 100% financed, has repeatedly turned out to require co-financing, and the less capital-rich contractors who pre-financed the subsidy money have run into liquidity problems, jeopardizing the money of clients and the success of the projects. The problem is partly caused by the mismanagement and bureaucratic way the 2021 tender was handled, says an energy expert.
Látjuk a 2023-as évi költségvetési folyamatokat is, hogy sokkal nehezebb és sokkal kedvezőtlenebb pályára keveredett a magyar államháztartás, mint amit eredetileg elgondolt, és így gyakorlatilag keresett olyan irányokat, amelyekben vissza tudja fogni a kiadásokat.
In the last 2 years, the solar panel market has been at a standstill, but now it's growing at a fast pace, causing problems and rising costs for the Hungarian energy grid, driving up contractor prices and creating uncertainty in the industry.
Nem biztos, hogy az a legjobb megoldás, hogyha egyébként fontosan pályáztatással próbáljuk ezt a piacot, ugye, ahogy mondtam, színusz görbe szerint ugye szabályozni, hanem az lenne jó, hogyha teljesen piaci alapon lehetne ezt csinálni, hiszen más nyugat-európai országokban is egy teljesen élhető megtérülés ideje van ezeknek a napelemes rendszereknek.
But in Hungary, partly due to the market distorting effect caused by artificially low state-regulated energy prices for households, consumers have a different view. So while the market recovers, contractors are cautious as they have yet to receive money from previously completed projects. Argentinian workers have staged their first general strike against the radical policies of President Javier Milei. Tens of thousands took to the streets of Buenos Aires to protest against his plans for deep spending cuts and wider-ranging deregulations of the economy. They were also demonstrating against a new law curbing the right to protest and expanding presidential powers. Milei was elected in December, promising extreme measures to tackle the country's inflation crisis and soaring poverty levels.
A worrying outbreak of measles has led the World Health Organization to issue a fresh warning after a 30-fold increase in cases across Europe. The spread of the disease has, quote, accelerated in recent months, with more than 30,000 cases reported by 40 of the region's 53 member states. 5 individuals have died and there has been more than 21,000 hospitalizations. The WHO has warned that the rising trend is expected to continue if people do not vaccinate their children against the disease.